Hello, my name is Gabor Goertz. I'm the CEO and co-founder of greehill. And first, Peter, thank you so much for having me here. I'm delighted to give some insights about how we use technology, especially AI, to help cities to better manage their green assets. And why it is important? Because the green assets of cities, especially the urban trees, are at risk. On one side, they are essential for the quality of life in cities. So they provide clean air, they provide shade, they cool the temperature down in their environment up to 6 degrees, and they also filter the air. But at the same time, due to climate change and due to poor maintenance, their decline is accelerated worldwide. So usually, when we speak to urban foresters, wherever we go in the world, the quality of the urban forests of the trees have declined in the last 5 years more than in the 20 years before. And this is also shown by research from USD Forestry Department, which predicts significant decline in canopy cover over the next years, not only US, but worldwide. So can we live without urban trees? In principle, yes, but quality of life will dramatically be reduced. So that's why we have to do something. We have to act now. What is a big problem nowadays? That basically most of the cities who have to, and municipalities who have to manage their urban forests are flying blind. So basically, no up to date information is available about the urban trees itself, so the number of trees, the species, but also about their condition. And as we all know, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So, as a matter of fact, what happens now is that most of the cities operate in a really reactive way when they manage the urban forest. So basically, they wait until someone calls in and says, here's a problem with a tree in my neighborhood, and then they go out and cut the tree. It's a little bit like medicine used to be 50 years ago. We only went to see a doctor when we were ill. The doctor looked at us and said, yeah, now it's quite late. All I can do is to cut your arm. Now, today, what we do is we go to regular checkups, right? We go to regular checkups, do MRIs, blood tests, and the doctor tells us if we continue not to exercise or to eat unhealthy stuff, we will have health issue in 5 years' time. So instead of being reactive, we actively manage our health. And this is exactly what we do now for the urban forest. We provide data and insights about the urban forest, about the current status of each tree to decision makers, policy makers, but also to operational managers in order that they have the right data to take the right decision at the right time. So how this happens is that this is a three-step process. In the first step, we capture the entire environment. So we create a digital twin of the entire city. And this is done with ground-based LiDAR and very high resolution cameras. It's like a Google car. We drive at the normal speed of the traffic and capture and create a centimeter accurate copy of the city. And the second step, using AI, basically a digital twin of each tree is created. And then each tree is automatically analyzed. So for various aspects, first of all, we look at safety risks, safety aspects. So basically, we can tell you and analyze at which wind speed a tree will break. So instead of waiting for the next storm, people and municipalities can go out and prune those trees proactively. Or we look at health and vitality of trees. So these numbers are measured. It's like a blood test. Today, these data is captured by arborists. It's highly subjective and it's quite slow. And using AI and LiDAR technology, basically it's much faster, but at the same time, we capture objective data about each tree. And at the end, once we have captured the entire city, basically you have something like a balance sheet for your urban forest. So it gives you the status of the urban forest in an objective way with clear numbers at a given time. And this allows now policymakers to analyze where we are today and to create long-term plans based on data and based on insights. But also it allows the operational managers, the so-called greedy managers, to take the right decisions, what needs to be done and which actions need to be taken at which tree. So which trees need to be pruned, which trees need more water, and which trees need any other medical treatment. And then 2 years later, we repeat the exercise. So we scan again the same city. So basically, we don't have a balance sheet every year, but we provide a balance sheet every second year. So, and then basically by comparing the balance sheets, the tree inventories over the time, you see tendencies, and basically you better understand what really happens inside your urban forest. And you can also predict how your urban forest will be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, if you don't act. Now, where are there multiple benefits which arise from having precise and objective data about each tree in your urban forest? This is one of the benefits is it increases, research shows the longevity of trees, and I will speak about that later. It reduces accidents dramatically, tree-related accidents, which is becoming a increasingly problem all over the world. Just recently, 12 people died just in New Delhi from falling trees. It costs, and then last but not least, it costs inventory costs, technology, and it also lowers operational costs. Now, let's look at benefits and longevity first. We all hear all the time about we need to plant more trees, we need to have more initiatives, and there are thousands of initiatives worldwide to plant more trees. Now, in an urban environment, that's not so easy because space is limited. So first of all, we don't have a lot of free planting sites anymore in most of the cities. But more important than that is that basically a tree needs between 15 and 20 years until it reaches maturity. And only mature trees provide the full ecosystem services. So all the potential benefits to their local communities, like carbon sequestration, air pollution removal, but also these cooling effects from shadow and the heat reduction. So in order to have healthy environment and healthy cities, we need not only to plant more trees, but we need to preserve the urban forest which we have. And by having data, objective data, arborists can take the right actions. They discover illnesses very early, so they can take the right actions to increase the longevity of trees by up to 54%. At the same time, and Singapore, one of our first clients where we started with in 2017, is a very good example. Data is able to help us to reduce accidents. As mentioned before, we have more and more tree failures worldwide. It's becoming an increasingly big problem. Now, Singapore in 2014 had 1,250 tree-related incidents. They have roughly 3 million trees. By having data-driven and rigorous tree inspections and maintenance regime, the number of tree-related accidents has been reduced within 9 years to 430, which is a tremendous step in the right direction. By the way, Singapore is probably the leading agency and city in the world related to tree management. You all remember probably the big fire which almost destroyed Los Angeles, LA, a couple of months ago. This was caused by basically unmaintained vegetation. So what happened is that with a very strong wind, branches were getting into the so-called protected zone of electrical cables, and one branch cut basically a cable, and this is how the fire started. So the point that vegetation remains not properly maintained is responsible for almost 50% for the utility-related incidents in the world. So by having this balance sheet and proper understanding of each tree in your urban environment, you can avoid these types of incidents in the future. And last but not least, it's about cost. Technology and AI will not replace humans. We are not replacing any arborists or specialists. We are supporting humans to be more productive. Whereas today, the arborist runs and goes from tree to tree and uses their knowledge to basically collect data. And in average, they spend 3 minutes per tree. With our system, the data is collected with the LiDAR and machine learning, and the arborist can focus her or his time on analyzing the data and drawing the right conclusions and focusing more time on those trees which need special care. And this is a tremendous shift in productivity. So a doctor now, which the arborists are, is supported by technology to have the right information to make the right decision. And this increases tremendously the productivity of the doctor itself, but also it helps cities to save significant costs on OPEX, so on operational expenses, based on instead of and this is an example here you see in Buffalo, New York, which we have done together with our US partner, Davy Resource Group, with whom we work closely in North America. We have analyzed that instead of spending most of their budgets in removing trees or pruning trees, they move budgets with smart tree inventories. With technology, we can move budgets to preventive maintenance. And the overall expenses for cities will be reduced by almost 1/3 of the cost. So let me give you a example of how this looks in reality in the urban environment. Here, you see a tree which is from one of the cities of our potential partners in the United States. So, of course, this is a digital twin of a tree, how it comes out from the AI pipeline. You don't have to be an arborist to understand that this tree has an issue. I mean, you see that here are a lot of diebacks. Diebacks are always a sign that something is wrong with the tree. Now, when I look here at the analytics of this tree, this is basically, we look for whether the performance of the tree compared to its peer group, we measure it and give an indication how the tree performs compared to its peer group, whether we have a structural problem, health and vitality problem, and also clearance problems. And clearance means, is the tree, are branches growing in critical infrastructure of the city, which might cause either danger to the infrastructure or might cause danger to people. So, and we see that this tree has basically 4 clearance issues. And one of the clearance issues is the so-called wire clearance. This is the example from Los Angeles. So basically we see that here's an electrical cable, which also has been detected with AI. And now we see that some of the branches here are growing into the so-called protected zone of the cable. So normally this tree needs to be pruned. Now, would you go out for this small infringement? Probably not. But if we now move to from wire clearance to road clearance means that depending on the type of the road, a certain height of the road needs to be cleared from branches. Then, of course, we see here the red part that a lot of so that basically a big portion of this tree is growing into the corridor, which is protected. Now, this is a very good example, this tree, that AI cannot make any decision alone, because if you look at now, you take off digitally the leaves, you see that in order to get this zone cleared, you basically have to cut half of the tree. Now, this is a decision only an arborist can make, and we support this decision by looking at the so-called ecosystem services of the tree. So this tree, which we see here, for example, is basically a healthy tree. So it sequestrates almost 3,000, or it stored 3,000 pounds of carbon so far. It's sequestrating almost 300 pounds every year, and it's also filtering the air. So this tree is a healthy tree. Now, in this case, the system would suggest to to an arborist, go out and decide on site, spend time with this tree, decide whether we can save this tree or there's no other way to cut it. So this is just an example of how technology can help you and it can help decision makers and arborists to better manage their urban forest based on objective data. Just a few information about our company. Company has been founded in 2017. We have started with a research project from Singapore, from MParks in Singapore. They believed already then that AI is the future and it will help them to operationalize and improve the operations to better manage their 3 million trees. So their first objective was to reduce the number of accidents, and which we achieved. And the second objective was they planned for another million trees to manage the 4 million trees with the same amount of data, with the same amount of budget than the 3 million trees. And these objectives has been reached. And the company has, in the meantime, grown. We are 100 people, and we have been awarded with the highest prize from the European Union and also with the Sustainability Award from the Ministry of Sustainable Environment in Singapore. And today we are operating worldwide from New Zealand, Australia, Asia Pacific, India, and of course, everywhere in Europe. Research and development is in Europe and North America, together with our partner Davy, and about to now expand our activities to LATAM. Sao Paulo just launched a project with 650,000 trees, which we were able to win, because also Sao Paulo realized they have to better manage their urban forest based on data, based on objective data, and based on regular balance sheets, so that they understand the current state, they understand the changes over time, and they can take the right actions at the right tree to build greener cities and to create safer and more livable cities in the world. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to help your city one day with a smart tree inventory. Thank you.